You are listening to The Underground Subway with host David Alston, a podcast dedicated to giving you the strategies to live a free and better life. Here is David Alston.
Hi, I'm David Alston, and welcome to The Underground Subway. We are so excited for you to join us for this podcast. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to this Underground Subway podcast. As I always say, I'm excited about the name because it stems from my grandmother's first cousin, Harriet Tubman, who led the Underground Railroad. She led so many slaves to freedom. And here in 2022, we don't do the Underground Railroad, we do the Underground Subway because we're modernized and we have a different type of bondage, but we are going to do whatever it takes to make sure that you, I, and the next generation are all free and liberated, able to think, function, live, operate without the restraints that were designed to hold us back. And so this podcast is dedicated to that purpose, helping us all to be free. I'm excited because there was a time when this podcast, it was just myself talking, but lately we've been having so many wonderful guests appear on the podcast. And to this particular podcast, I am super excited to welcome a guest to the podcast. My guest is a very special lady. Her name is Kathleen Donnelly Israel. And let me tell you a little bit about Kathleen before we welcome her to the Underground Subway. Kathleen's bio is so profound and yet so simple because it really reaches the heart and core of what we go through. Wisdom on the Camino is an enjoyable book about a 70-year young, I like that part, widow's journey and adventurous walking the Camino Santiago de Compastela. I hope I pronounced that right, which is 500 miles across northern Spain, solo by herself, where she shared her spiritual philosophies with those she met along the way. That's what we want to talk about during this podcast. Experiences, life struggles, but yet taking those struggles and turning them into a positive and yet sharing it with other people. Help me welcome to the Underground Subway my special guest, Kathleen Donnelly Israel. Kathleen, thank you so much for joining us on the Underground Subway.
So happy to be here. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get right into it.
Right.
You know, you're an author of a book, and you've experienced a lot of things. And I talked about that walk. I hope I pronounced that correctly. The Camino Santiago de Compastela. I hope that was. Oh, wow. Okay. I did a little French, so I know how to throw a little slight accent on something.
All right.
Kathleen, let's just get right to the heart of the matter, because you went on this walk, you went on this journey, and it's 500 miles.
Right.
I mean,
right.
That's, I live here in North Carolina, and I'm originally from Philadelphia, which when I make the drive, it's about a 350, 400 mile trip. 500 miles, and you walked it. That's amazing.
Yeah, one foot in front of the other.
Wow.
You know, it's kind of a low-tech skill.
Wow. Wow. Question, what was it that you went through that made you decide to do this?
Well, my husband was an athlete, and back in like 2001, we realized that he had Parkinson's disease. He had it for a while, but we didn't know what was wrong. So he was diagnosed in 2001. And, I really didn't want to know what it was going to be like. I thought, well, let's just let this thing unfold instead of, studying about it. But what I studied about was how to cure him. But I would buy these cures, and he didn't want me to be his healer. He wanted me to take care of him and accept him the way he was. And so I had to honor that. And so I became a caregiver. It took him from 2001 to 2018 till he was done with his disease. And during that time, I always thought that we would be riding our bicycles across France. I thought we would, do fun things when we were in our, after he retired. And then
Right.
when he got Parkinson's disease, that just dream disappeared. And of course, I had to be home with him during the last stages from like 2010 to 2018. He was completely disabled. And so I had to be home. And so I got to study online with a bunch of enlightened thought leaders. I had some post-traumatic stress disorder from my childhood, was kind of rough. And so I needed some healing. And so I did that online while my husband was ill and I had to be home. And so after a while, God would send me these teachers and I would study their program, and it would raise my vibration up a little bit until my vibration was too high for that teacher, and God would send me another teacher. And so I just, over time, I listened to all these teachers. I would buy their little program and do the work, listen to CDs or whatever they wanted me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, I developed some philosophies of my own, synthesizing all that, knowledge. And I did a lot of healing, personal healing, and I wanted to write a book about it. I wanted to share my philosophies with other people because I was really bowled over about how exciting they were for me. And so that's what I wanted to write my book about. And so after Ron died, actually, while he was ill, my girlfriend did the Camino Santiago de Compastela. It was like 2013. And I was reading on Facebook her journey on the Camino. And even though she got blisters and walked with bloody feet and, it was pretty gory, but I could tell that she was doing something very special. Mm-hmm. And I decided that would be my dream of what I would do in my, when I was done taking care of Ron. And so I went on the Camino, he died in August 2018. And by January, I was able to just start preparing to go on the Camino. And I decided to go at the end of March. And I gave myself 3 months because I thought I am going to finish this. Even if I get sick, even no matter what happens, I am going to finish this. And so it actually only took me 66 days on the Camino, which was a long time, but I'm an old lady. So, I didn't walk fast, and I have a foot problem too. So I had to do Tai Chi walking, which is rolling your foot and lifting it up at the end. And it really helped me have stamina with my feet.
Wow. So how did you, because I'm curious about this walk, how did you, and how did you, I'm curious as to if you're walking 500 miles, you don't just get out there and walk 500 miles nonstop. You have to sleep and eat. How did you do that? How did you take intervals as far as your sleeping, and where did you sleep?
Yeah. So, okay, they have the albergues over there, and they're like hostels, only it's just a giant room with a whole bunch of bunk beds in it. Some of them had like 50 bunk beds, but some of them had like 8, or just depending on where you were, what they provided. And I had a book and it had listed all the albergues. And so I just, the book had like sort of like a timeline map showing you the elevation that day. And so I would be, okay, well, there's a mountain today. I can't go that far. And so I would say, okay, I'm going to go this far today, depending on the topography and how tired I was. And then I would just call ahead to an albergue in the town that I thought I could get to. and make a reservation. In Spanish, it's like, quiero una cama para esta noche. and that means, I need a bed for tonight. And then they would write my name down.
Wow.
And so when I would get there, I had a reservation. And then usually when I got there, I would walk in and they say, "We're full." And I'm like, "I have a reservation." And they're like, "Okay, what's your name?" And I would tell them, and they're like, "Okay, you're in." And so it just meant to me, yes, you need to call ahead, at least
Right.
at least that morning, maybe 2 days ahead.
So I would call ahead and say, "Help."
Well, I used to walk. I met this lady in jury duty one time, and she was talking about how she walked by the bay. I'm in San Diego here. And so she walked by the bay 5 miles, 3 days a week. And I said, "Oh, I want to do that too." So we just started walking together, and we walked for maybe like 5 years or something. We were go out there and walk 5 miles. And I didn't even break a sweat. It was fine. And so I thought, well, I can walk 5 miles before lunch and 5 miles after lunch, and I would get 10 miles a day. And that was my plan. And so that's what I started doing. And then after a while, I got so buff that by lunchtime, I had done the 10 miles, and I'm like, oh, I have to walk further now. So then I would walk further.
Wow. That's so fascinating. Fascinating. You to have foot problems, to do the Tai Chi walking. That's just amazing that you were able to do that. And I take my hat off and I applaud you for that. Kathleen, you said something that really caught my attention. I want to get into, and I'll preference this by saying I always say this on all of my podcasts. All of my podcast guests get the same little, at some point during the interview, this next point comes out. That I am from Philadelphia. And my favorite movie is Philadelphia, starring Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington. And there's a scene in which Denzel Washington, who's the attorney, he has a witness on the stand, and he asks them, he says, "Listen, explain this to me like I'm a 6-year-old." So I want to challenge you. I want to ask you a question. If you can explain this to me like I'm a 6-year-old, what exactly is an enlightened thought leader?
Oh, yeah. So there's okay, so there are people who have studied, maybe, I mean, I don't want to get all woo-woo on you, but
anything that helps. I mean, because we're trying to help people get better. So if woo-woo helps, and I'm the first one that's going to get the help because I'm
well, we are all wounded healers, right? And at some point in our healing, we realize some stuff. And then all of a sudden, something is explained that we can share with other people that will help them out. And so they have done their work and realized some things, and then they will share it with us. And maybe, okay, so I've got a broken heart, and I will just work on it until my heart doesn't hurt anymore. And all of a sudden, I have a little roadmap here that I can share with you that maybe will help you not have a broken heart.
Okay.
Or heal from your broken heart. And that's what I'm talking about. These people, like there's this guy, Darius Barazunda, and he, on his show, on the internet, he will have these thought leaders. And so I would, they had figured something out, and they became a professional by just sharing what they know, and other people being like, I needed to hear that. I needed to know that. And so, and so they become speakers, and they share their knowledge with you. And then you get to experience their healing. Personally, I had a low vibration from my childhood. My dad was he was a wonderful artist and a wonderful musician.
Mhm.
When he wasn't doing that, he was an alcoholic, rageaholic child molester,
Okay. So
And so,
I hate to interrupt you, but what do you mean when you say you had a low vibration? What does that exactly mean?
okay, so I think we all vibrate. Our bodies vibrate. If we're happy, we have a high vibration. When we're sad, we have a low vibration. And so that's what the problem is. When we are vibrating low, we're sad,
Mhm.
hurt, whatever. Then we send out into the world like, I am here,
Right.
and I am sending out this vibration into the world that may be a low vibration. And low vibrational experiences will be attracted to me. So I would like bring them in. And
Wow.
so,
Is this anything? Again, I hate cutting you off, but this is so fascinating to me. Is this anything like? And I hope I'm not dating myself with this, making myself look old. But is this anything sort of like years ago? We had something called a mood ring that could just pick up your.
well, you know why the mood ring works is because our bodies, um, they are a certain heat. And when you put this mood ring on, whatever heat that is, that ring is going to become that color. So if you are peaceful and feeling all loving, maybe your ring would be green.
Right.
Have you seen those? They have thermometers that you used to be able to stick on your head that would change a color and tell you how hot you were.
Yes.
Did you ever
Yes.
see those? It's the
Yes.
same thing. It's like a mood ring. It's like that.
So that is, to me, the mood ring was evidence years ago. I don't know when the mood rings out, was it late 70s or something like that? That we do give off vibration. So someone may
Yeah.
say, well, that's not true. We don't give off. That was evidence that our body does produce something. Am I
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. But that, it is when you have a peaceful countenance, you emit a high vibration,
Okay.
and you are not all hot. You're more cool. It may be warm with love, but not warm with anger.
Okay.
And so if you have anger, that's a very hot, and it would make your ring be a different color, maybe
Right.
brown or something. I don't remember what color it is for the
Yeah, I
anger.
think it was black. The closer you get, the more angry you got of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it was interesting, and we didn't really have quantum physics. I mean, we did have quantum physics, but not a lot of people had heard about it back then.
Right.
And so the quantum field is like, what is that? It's like there's all about vibration, and we're sending out vibration, and we're attracting stuff into us. So a low vibration sent out is going to bring in low vibrational experiences, what are the sad experiences, the things that make us hurt and stuff, and we'll attract in people that have a low vibration. And then
Wow.
we get to, have a life with them, and they're
Misery
like,
loves
oh.
company.
Well, and the thing is, the worse it gets, because, okay, so here I am, I got a low vibration, sending it out, bringing in all this other low vibrational stuff, and my vibration gets even lower because I'm like, oh, this is terrible. But the thing about those enlightened thought leaders is they would just help you find a way to have a high vibration. And so then you could, maybe it wouldn't help you today because you've been attracting all this crap for a really long time.
Mhm.
But then after your countenance absorbs that high vibration, and then it can send out the high vibration, then you can bring in some good stuff. And I have some ways to raise my vibration that I use. And one of the most highest vibrational things you can do is praising God. And so that's how, that's like the easiest way. I have another way. Like yesterday, I was driving home from the San Diego Zoo, and I was thinking about something really sad. My daughter was just like not appreciating her husband because he was a jerk, and it just he was trying to make up with her, and she was just like not ready for it yet.
Right.
And I was thinking about that. It was making me really sad. And then I remember one of my tools, and I thought, yeah, but I just want to be happy. And all of a sudden my countenance changed and I did feel happy. So I mean, I have these little tools in my toolbox so that when, things come in that are really sad, then I can use them. And that was from Abraham Hicks. That was one of my teachers. And yeah, so that's really powerful for me. And another thing that I can do is push away any negativity and then zip myself up. So what I do is I put my hand on my heart, and my other hand, I put the back of my hand against the back of my hand. So you can imagine my hand is, the palm of my hand is facing out. And
okay.
I'm
actually doing it now. So
yeah, one hand is on my heart and the other hand, the back of my hand is on my hand, and I'm pushing it out. And so then I push the negativity away. I just push it away. And then I take my finger like I'm zipping up a zipper and go to my belly and draw my hand up past the top of my head, and that's zipping myself up. And what that is so powerful for me is that I'm pushing away any negativity and I'm keeping myself here, and anything that's not me is going to get pushed away. And then I zip myself up like that can't get back in.
Wow.
And I tell you what, when I do that, the colors get brighter. Like I was doing it while I was driving, and all of a sudden, the street wasn't gray anymore. It was like black, because I was, it just makes me who I am, instead of I'm bombarded by all these negative thoughts and I'm getting this low vibration, because I am a high vibrational being, but when I attract negative things, then my vibration can get low, and I'm like, okay, I need a tool here. I can,
So are you able to, if you are a very high vibration person and you're in the supermarket and I walk past you and speak, and yet I'm very low vibration, are you able to pick that up?
Well, you know what? I have to tell you, I would not be attracting you in if I had a very high vibration. You would walk by me and I wouldn't even notice you. Okay. Because my high vibration was bringing me good stuff. Gotcha. And I'm not saying you're not good stuff, but so the thing is that my radar would be bringing in things. Have you heard of entrainment?
I have not.
So when you have something vibrating at a certain vibration and you bring something else close to it, the two vibrations start vibrating at the higher vibration. Oh, so wow. Maybe when you walked by me, maybe you would smile for some reason because you got my vibration onto you.
Wow.
But like I say, if I'm feeling the low vibration, I can do that, holding myself in, pushing the negative away and zipping myself up. That, I obviously do get low vibrational things coming at me. And I have to say they're caused by stinking thinking.
Yeah, yes, I can believe that.
Yeah. So, I mean, if perhaps a memory comes in and I'm like, oh man, I wish it hadn't gone that way or something like that, and then I'm like, if I don't realize it, I can just kind of get into it. But if I realize what happened, I'm like, oh, I don't like to feel that way. And so then I'll use my technique to raise my vibration so I won't be I won't be staying in that condition, I guess I should say.
Is it important for us to have tools? Because you mentioned your toolbox. Is it important for us to have tools? And do you have access, or not access, but do you have some way for our listeners to maybe tap into your tools or the information that you have?
Yeah, that's why I wrote my book. I wrote my book because after listening to all those enlightened thought leaders, I thought, I want to write a book about this stuff is making me happy. I could share it with the world. And then I was like thinking, well, I don't want to be all teachy, and so I remembered that while I was on the Camino, I shared all my wisdom with the people on the Camino. And so I wrote my book about walking the Camino and sharing those things with people.
Wow. Well, Kathleen, time really does fly. We're out of time. This has been a wonderful conversation with you. I've really enjoyed this, and yet there's so much more that I would like to talk. And hopefully, you will consent to joining me for another podcast in the future.
That would be great, David.
Yes, I would love to just go over the book, and we can talk more about these tools, because I've been learning more about things such as, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. I think it's called EFT.
Oh, yes. I love EFT.
Okay, so I would love to talk about that and different things, anything that we need to do to be free. And I'm just amazed at your story, and I'd love to hear more about it. And so everyone's heard it. You've already said you're coming back, so we're going to hold you to it.
Okay, that sounds really good.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, David.
I want to thank everyone for joining us for the Underground Subway. I want to give a special thank you to my guest, Kathleen Israel. What a powerful story. What a powerful, what I call testimony of how she walked 500 miles for a cause, for a purpose. I want to say thank you to her again. And we're just so amazed at her struggle, which led to something that we could use to help us to be better. We cannot be free except we are free on the inside of ourselves. And I believe that's what Kathleen's journey has taught us, that we have to be healers of ourselves before we can be healers of someone else. I'm just excited about what is happening, where we're going, excited about this information. You're going to see Kathleen's information in the description. Go and find that book. I promise you, it is going to help you to be free and to live a better life. Listen, my friends, I want to thank you for joining the Underground Subway. And in leaving, I want to challenge you, each of you. I want to challenge you, issue you a challenge tonight before you go to bed, before you close your eyes for that final time for this day, to close out this day. I want to challenge you to look in the mirror, look yourself right in the eyes, and ask yourself a simple question. Today, did I do something to create a more positive vibration for myself and for others? Or did I simply waste another day? Talk to you next time, right here on the Underground Subway.